Let's do an early look at number 3 Texas hosting number 16 Clemson in the Saturday matchup in the first round of the college football playoff that is going to feature some Texas natives and a rematch of the 2021 6A1 state championship. Very excited about this one. What's up, kinfolk? It's RJ Young. I am not on a step mill. If this is your first time watching the number 1 college football show, please hit that subscribe button, ring the bell so you don't miss any of the segments that we upload here. And they're coming out fast and furious with these matchups coming out and the 12-team playoff being established and what matchups we have. And this is the one that I think has the most going for it out the rip. Like, there's storylines on storylines on storylines in this one. First off, I just need to acknowledge this, man. I watched the 2021 6A1 state championship between Austin Westlake and South Lake Carroll. That featured Quinn Ewers' Dragons at quarterback and Cade Klubnik's Chaparrals. When he's at quarterback, of course, Cade Klubnik comes out on top in that one. 52-34, they win a state championship. He goes to Clemson. Quinn Ewers ends up going to Ohio State, transferring to Texas, right where he should be the whole time. And now you're getting yet another opportunity here to see those two guys go at each other in a pitcher's duel. And I was actually astounded to see the spread open at 10.5 points favoring the Texas Longhorns. And this isn't about how much I don't like Texas or even how much I don't like or do like Clemson. That's a large number, man. Like, I don't get that one. These teams are closer than you think. And I think for Texas, Pete Kwiatkowski's already got to be zeroed in on the Austin Westlake alum because he has the kind of skill set that can hurt them. Second half of the SEC championship game, Gunner Stockton got them back into this game by being mobile, by being quick, by putting his head down and doing what he could as the extra man on the football field. And that has been a recipe for many teams to get after some great defenses. Jalen Milroe did this to great effect against Georgia in their win, right? Quinn Ewers doesn't have that part of his game. Arch Manning does. It seems like you need a mobile quarterback who can protect himself back there to help get you out of some bad spots, but also to get you some explosive plays. Remember, Miami loses the game to Syracuse, and then Cade Klubnik basically a couple weeks ago comes back and wins this game against Pittsburgh on a 50-yard scamper. When you got that kind of guy and then got that kind of playmaking back there, it's difficult to account for that, even if you've got a great scoring defense like the Longhorns do, with a Thorpe Award finalist in Jahdae Barron at corner, with what I think is one of the best linebackers in the sport in Anthony Hill, who's do everything all the time. We got dudes all over. Colin Simmons is another guy. Trey Moore is another guy. They've got guys that can get after the quarterback, but they've also got some dynamos at wide receiver for Clemson. Antonio Williams, Bryant Wesco Jr., two guys to come off the rip. Jake Briningstool is going to be at the Senior Bowl. He's an outstanding tight end prospect. And then if Phil Maffa can get going, you can see how this one can absolutely go the way that it did for Clemson against SMU, where they jump out early and are able to hold on late. But going into DKR is just not going to be easy. It is going to be, I believe, the hottest ticket in the entire country. Nobody has wanted a home game like this one more than the Texas Longhorns, who are able to sell those suites for 8 figures during the season, right? I expect the cheapest ticket to get in the door is probably going to be around $600, if not more, for their first opportunity to host a home game against a team that knows how to do the playoffs because of who Dabo Swinney is and what Clemson has done here in the past. Remember, 2 national championships in the college football playoff era. And when he's got a quarterback that's capable of doing the things that we've seen Cade Klubnik do, it goes back to Deshaun Watson being able to lead them. It goes back to Trevor Lawrence being able to lead them. All the way back to Taj Boyd, for those of y'all that remember Taj Boyd. When he's got a guy that can make this happen, he can make this happen. Garrett Riley also bouncing back from what I thought was a pretty awful year last year, and frankly wasn't a great start to this one with 34-3 loss to Georgia, but also another year of having Cade Klubnik and him really understanding this offense. Those two guys being able to get in sync has really helped propel Clemson into being one of the better teams in the sport to finish the season. Let's not forget, Clemson's coming off a win against Southern Methodist, and they are a champion. They have won their conference championship. Texas lost to a Georgia team that they should have beaten, okay? I still believe that the best player on the Georgia football team was kicker Bert Auburn for Texas. He missed 2 out of 3 field goals. He makes all 3. Texas wins the SEC championship 19-16. We don't have an overtime. They don't lose this game 22-19. And perhaps we're looking at Georgia being the 5 seed and Texas being the 2 seed. As it stands, Georgia gets to go around saying we got Texas's high twice, being the first team to beat them in the same season twice since 1909. Like, that's going back to A&M and what they were able to do. I think the thing about Texas right now is they don't know if they're coming or going running the football. They have no consistency there. They look great against Kentucky with Quintravion Wisener going for a $150. He goes for like a $180 against Texas A&M, and then he gets stopped by a Georgia front that just decided, no, you're not going to be able to move the football. We're just not going to allow that. And if you can get that out of Clemson, who hasn't really been all that great against stopping the run, you're going to be okay. I think, this is teams that match up pretty evenly when we're talking about offense. Both are putting up about 450 yards of offense a game. Both are throwing for about 280 yards per game, and both are rushing between 165 and 180 yards per game, right? On the statistics, it's about the same. But where I think Texas fans are going to feel good is they play in the SEC, right? Now, on top of all of that, Texas doesn't have a single win against a top 25 team in the final college football playoff selection committee rankings. And it seems like that's shown because the only time they played a team that we thought was really good, like Georgia, they lost both of those games. One at Austin and one basically in a home game. I think of Atlanta as a home game for Georgia. I know Georgia fans don't because they're like, we only make up half of the stadium. Well, damn, dog. Like, it's in Georgia. Who do you think is going to travel to that game if not y'all? I also look at this and I ask myself, when your second leading rusher is your quarterback, what happens if Klubnik doesn't have a great game throwing the football and you're able to keep some shackles on him? Well, then you give Quinn Ewers an opportunity to stretch the field. That was the thing that they did really well against the Georgia defense. Like, the thing that people hate about Quinn Ewers, I think, is in crunch time, he threw that interception that basically sealed the win for Georgia, but also he's just not mobile back there. He's going to take sacks. That's just what he's going to do because he doesn't have the wheels of an Arch Manning. He certainly doesn't have the wheels of a Klubnik, and that can come back to really bite you when you play teams that have fast fronts that can chase you down. It doesn't much matter to them that Quinn Ewers goes for 27-46 for 358 if he's getting sacked 6 times, he's got 2 interceptions. I think knowing that you got speed, though, on the outside, guys like Matthew Golden, who had 8 catches for 162 in this loss, guys like DeAndre Moore, who showed up 9 catches for 114 in that loss, that makes you feel better about stretching the field, but you got to be able to establish it off the run. We know that Steve Sarkisian is one of the more creative guys in the sport. Also, this is another year in which a Riley is calling offensive plays in the college football playoff. Can't wait to see what Steve Sarkisian does against that Clemson defense and what Garrett Riley can do against Pete Kwiatkowski, and a guy that I think is probably going to be a finalist for the Broyles Award, if not be the dude that wins it, given what that defense has been able to do this year. It's just been really, really hard to score on that Texas football team. Even Georgia found it difficult. And we're talking about, really, the stats are pretty outstanding when we're talking about that unit. Giving up just 12.46 points per game. They're the fourth best scoring defense in the country. Ahead of them is Ohio State, who, has been pretty good about stopping people from scoring too. And when they're able to run the ball late into the fourth quarter and they have a lead, they've been able to sit on your chest, meaning they just don't give the ball back as often as you might think. They run out the clock really well, and that's what Steve Sarkisian wants to do. When Texas is playing its best football, it looks like a traditional SEC football team. It looks like the kind that is just going to use its offensive line to pound you, to bruise you, to get after you, and then try to get what it can in one-on-one. I think getting Kelvin Banks back for this game is also going to be huge. If they can get him back, right? We'll see. It's going to be a guy that might play. And we're at a point where guys are tending to make business decisions even on teams that are playing in the playoffs. So we'll see what that means. But you would certainly love to have the best left tackle in the sport playing left tackle on your football team. Once again, that's going to help you move the football. It's also a Texas offensive line that ought to be up for the Joe Moore Award, what they've been able to do in protection. And having 2 different quarterbacks start games for them in Arch Manning and Quinn Ewers and being able to basically get the same result. Quinn Ewers starts against Georgia, they lose. Quinn Ewers starts against Georgia, they lose. Arch Manning, I don't think is going to help all that much because last time we saw Arch Manning play meaningful snaps, even in the SEC championship game, his speed was negated by Jalen Walker and Smile Munden and Michael Williams, who are absolutely eaten. You're not going to face that kind of front playing this Clemson team, and that's another reason why I think people are probably going to lean heavy on Texas in this one. And I also think that Texas has got the best road. to the college football playoff. I have not been shy about saying this. The 5 seed is the one that I want. I know that there's a lot of you that want rest, especially if you're hearing head coaches say, hey, we get to rest now. Who doesn't like rest? But what good is rest when Matthew Golden is torching Malachi Starks? What good is rest when Arian Smith is not making plays? What good is rest if I know I can just lean on you because no amount of rest is going to make you bigger or stronger? I'm just going to beat you up. I don't see that as a thing. So if you're Texas and you get past Clemson, you know who you get next? Arizona State. Which is not to say that Arizona State's not a good football team. That's the Big 12 champ, right? They've won 11 games. However, you like to think I got them. With no Jordan Tyson over there whose arm was in a sling, you also feel like you're going to take away Xavier Guillory if you get to that game. You stop Cam Scattaboo, you stop Arizona State. When that dude rushes for less than 100 yards, they lose football games. Full stop. Show me you can do that. But that's getting down the road here. Stop Phil Maffa, stop Cade Klubnik to start, and then we'll have some discussion about this. And as far as picking this game, right now, for me, it feels like Texas, right? It feels like you're going to be okay. You can't play as poorly offensively and still be in the game against Georgia most years, right? You're 6 of 18 on third down. You gave up nothing in total yards, right? You were able to stop Georgia. Your defense kept you in this game. You had 358 rush yards, but you only had 358 passing yards, but you only had 31 rushing yards. You got sacked 6 times. You turned the ball over 3 times. You still should have won the damn game. Like, the turnovers didn't really matter. It was Bert Auburn missing kicks. If you just play the kind of football you played against Georgia and you make your kicks, you're going to beat Clemson because you're a better football team. However, Clemson fans probably would say what I'd say. Hey, we were in a room in the college football playoff. This is only Texas' second appearance in the college football playoff. What are we even talking about here? We're talking about the Tigers having to go to DKR, and it's going to be a raucous environment. It's going to be as intimidating as if the Longhorns had to go to Death Valley. It's going to weigh on you. It's going to mean quite a bit. I don't have fun picking Texas, right? I picked Texas to beat Georgia, and they didn't. I picked Texas to beat Georgia last time, and they didn't. So maybe you're going to go with that. Maybe short me, but I don't bet football games. I don't bet anything. I like money in my pocket. So take it with what you want. But the analysis that I'm giving you says that if you hold Georgia to 5 of 15 on third down, 277 total yards, 22 points, you ought to win if you're Texas. They just didn't. It went to overtime. They still managed to give this game to Georgia rather than Georgia take it. And Georgia fans are acting like they took something. Nah, dog. I don't trust y'all. Matter of fact, who's going to be the more violent offensive line here? Like, I think I'm speaking to a Texas fan here, but also an SEC fan here. When you see your team is out there making business decisions, I'm going to spend the next 2 weeks just making my team angry, just making them mad. Are you violent? Are you violent enough? Do you understand that the Clemson Tigers are trying to come down here and take everything that you love? Do you realize that they want to hurt you? Do you want to hurt them first? Show me some blood on your teeth. Show me that you can play this game violently and nastily, in between the whistles. Leave no doubt. People talk about getting to a fist fight, but I'm not sure many of y'all know what that means, dog. I got collapsed knuckles. I be fighting. Matter of fact, I'm back in the ring again. My 37-year-old ass. I'm fighting again, and I've been sparring against dudes that quite literally are 15, 20 years younger than me, and I'm an old man in here, and I'm just using fundamentals. You leave that liver open, I'm gonna hurt you. I'm going to hurt you. And you know what? Try to hurt me. That's the name of the game. Try to hurt me. Matter of fact, boxing is not about hurting people. It's about defense. It's about not getting hit. It's why Floyd Mayweather Jr. is the best boxer of all time for me. Can't hit him. I don't care about knockouts so much as you leave yourself open, I'm going to hit you, right? Can you protect yourself in this thing or not? And after you get to where you can protect yourself, can you make this other person quit? That's what I want to see from the Longhorns. That's what I want to see from any of these football teams now, man. Who's got it in them to go make somebody quit? Who's got it in them to make that person look over there and say, do I really want to keep doing this? Is it Texas? We'll find out. Right now, feels like it's just Oregon. And it feels like you're about to take on the identity of your head coach. And if your head coach is nasty like Dan Lanning, probably got a nasty football team. If your head coach is happy to be here, well, you're going to get treated like you're happy to be here. And we're going to see you and say sayonara before Christmas.